Hi guys, so this is probably going to be my first video where I don't actually have notes from my phone. I didn't take any notes reading this book. I just felt inclined to do the review without any notes, and I think it's going to go good because I just finished reading this really great book, and I kept going to Barnes & Noble every week because I was looking for a magazine, and the magazine was not in stock, but something drew me to go look at the like mystical section of the books, and this one caught my eye, as well as The Gods of Eden. But The Gods of Eden was very stuff that I already know. Like, I didn't really want to go through history again. I'd rather learn about something like this, like an abduction case. And before I even purchased the book, I was skimming through the pages and I saw a lot of sketches of the Greys and the ships, and I was like, I definitely have to have this book. And I am very glad that I did buy it because you guys are going to be in for a ride. I'm not going to explain everything in the book. I'm just going to go, I might show you a little bit of photos. I'm just going to talk about it a little bit. So this is the book. It's called, I don't know how to say their last name, Andreasson or Andreasson. I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I'm butchering their name. But it's the Andreasson Affair by Robert E. Fowler. So this book is super good. It takes place in 1967 in Massachusetts, and it's a family of 7 kids and a husband and a wife. Betty is the main subject, and Becky is I believe she's the oldest daughter. And I also just found out towards the end of reading this book that there's a part 2. So I definitely am going to read that because I love this kind of stuff. This is right next to like The Custodians by Dolores Cannon. I would recommend this book right next to it. The reason probably why I'm gonna do this without notes, it's because it's more fact-based, whereas because it just follows one storyline, but it also includes a lot of eyewitnesses and a lot of credibility of other witness accounts for other things taking place in that same year in that same area, and also in the country. So it also gives them more credibility to the people that have been abducted. But the reason why I feel like I don't need notes is because of the fact that, like with Dolores Cannon's work, it's different subjects and it's tons of different types of stuff. It's like past lives and then abductions and all that stuff. But this is strictly one case, and so much shit has happened in this case. So I feel like just pointing out, just going off of my memory, just like chronologically what I remember from the story. So basically one day, while the whole family is in the house, basically these Greys, like 4 or 5 of them, come through into the house, literally through the door. Like they phase through the door, and they're like in a line, like almost like follow the leader. And the very first Grey on the front, phonetically they said his name was Quasga or Quasgar. That's just like the English translation of the vibration of their name, like the frequency of their name. Obviously they don't call him that and they don't talk, you know what I'm saying? Like the Greys don't talk in English, like they telepathically communicate in their own frequencies or whatever. But in order for us to understand the translation of their name, that's the equivalent, if that makes sense. And if you don't believe in it, then whatever, like whatever, okay? So first of all, I do want to recommend this book. I know I'm all over the place. I want to recommend this book to people that love ETs and also people that don't believe in ETs. This is definitely a book that I would recommend for someone who is a non-believer, like at all, someone that needs like proof and all this stuff. Like there is so much proof in this book that proves everything that happened here is real, as well as all the other like side like stories and side accounts that were mentioned in this book as well, which I'll get into later. So basically these Greys go inside their house, and Betty is chosen and no one else is chosen, but they actually are chosen later on. I'll explain later. But Betty is chosen, and she remembers through the hypnosis that she gave the Greys a Bible. And Betty is very religious, and she's a Christian. And obviously someone like her would never believe that these beings even exist. And luckily, she's not one of the people that just like immediately was like, oh, like they were demons and stuff like that. Because it's so annoying when people are like, oh, the Greys or all ETs are demons or fallen angels. Like, no, they're not. Like, you're so uneducated, and you're just saying stuff that like makes you think like you think you're smart and you're not. Like, just don't even say anything, because you don't even know what you're talking about. I hate when people say all of that stuff. I know I mention it probably like every video, but it's so true. Like, it annoys me because it's frustrating, and it's like not true at all. And so I hate when people just immediately assume that they know what they're talking about, and it's like, no, you do not. But yeah, she basically gives them the Bible, and they're like telepathically communicating with her. And there's this, one of the sketches in the books is that he, Quasgar, holds the Bible in his hand, and he basically duplicates it into multiple Bibles and hands them to the Greys that are behind him. And then when they open the book, it's like glowing white pages. It's super crazy. And then in exchange, they give Betty a blue book. Later on, we find out that the blue book, I remember it having like, she didn't draw sketches of what it contained, but they only gave her that blue book for a couple days, and then it like vanished. But basically it was meant just for her to read, and it was, I think, blueprints for like future vehicles. I think that's what it was, something very important. And that's something that she would need to know later in the future. So all of this stuff that they do to her is basically setting her up for the future and stuff like that. So they ended up later taking that book away without her seeing them take it away, but it just like vanished, and there's no way anybody would know where that book was, because she kept it hidden in a space where nobody would know. And so she really took care of that blue book of theirs. But then she got taken to their craft, and typically they like beam her up, or they just have her follow in line, and she just like floats with them, because they don't supposedly they don't walk, they just glide. At least in this case, they glide, they don't walk, the Greys. So they kind of have this, I'm thinking it's like very high tech, where it might be, she probably didn't even know what it was. I don't even know what it is. But if they because they told her to like stand on this path, like stand right behind this Grey, and then she just started floating and gliding with them, like if it was like a belt, like a conveyor belt, like an invisible one or something like that. So that must be some high tech that I don't even know of. But anyways, they either take her through that way, or they take her through the beam. And the beam literally like basically like teleports you in. And so yeah, so she was taken on board the craft, and she draws tons of sketches of the craft. Let me see if I can find it. So she draws sketches of the craft, and then they put her in this like garment, and they like start cleaning her with this machine that basically emits like pure white light. And they clean her, I guess, her energy. So this is the inside of the ship. Can you see that? I don't want to like completely change my position, because the lighting ends up getting messed up. So that's some of the sketches of the ship. Can you see that? No, it's focusing on me. It's really hard to, because like I'm trying my best. So the Greys have like a, this is more Greys. They have like a phoenix emblem on their suits, and I find it very interesting. So they had this whole like seating arrangement, and it's weird because it's molded perfectly for humans. And so that's kind of like weird, you know? Like obviously it's meant for us, like it's not meant for them. They're like 4 feet, and then she's like totally not 4 feet. And so yeah, it's just like made for humans and it's not made for them. So she basically was put in this tube, in this chair. Where's that focusing? Just screenshot it. She was put in that chair and she was literally submerged in this liquid, and they it was basically something that would protect her from the G-force of the traveling. And we still don't know, honestly, if she was taken to the center of the planet, or if she was taken to their planet, another planet, or if she was just taken to another dimension in general. We don't know. Maybe they explain it in part 2, but in this whole case they were not able to find out. There was also these so she gets taken to this really weird realm, and it has like red energy and green energy, and there's like a circle of energy that like a barrier that stops the red energy from going into the green energy and vice versa. And she describes it as being solid, like solid red, like just how we breathe air, but you can like see it, if that makes sense. I guess how the way we see air is like clear, because we don't really see the air, but then I don't know how to explain it, but that's just how she explained it. She couldn't even explain it really well either. And then these are some beings that she saw in that realm. Can you see? I love how it's focusing on my face. I appreciate that, but like, can you see that there? So these beings she saw, she described them as lemurs, or like monkey-like creatures. And then this is what was going on in that realm. She said it was freaking trippy. You see how there's like all sorts of shit going on? I'm not even gonna explain that part. What else? One of the craziest parts in that first time that she goes on the ship, because I don't want to say abduction. That's such a wrong term, but if it comes out of my mouth, like it's just by like habit, by accident. When she gets when she's on the spaceship, this is one of the craziest things that even the researchers and the investigators could not believe. Like they said that this is the most like unrealistic part of the whole abduction case, but Betty said that it was the most real part of the case. She basically, when she was going through the regression and reliving it, she remembers there was a phoenix, and it was more like a real phoenix. Not like the phoenix I'm always drawn to and thinking about is like the energetic one, like the you would say like the psychic, or yeah, like the energetic one. But this one was like a physical phoenix, like a huge phoenix. And when she was reliving that memory of being in front of the phoenix, she said she was so uncomfortable. It was like so hot. It was like draining her energy, and it was like the craziest thing that she's ever experienced, even crazier than the medical examinations that the Greys did and stuff like that. And so she said she witnessed the phoenix basically burning up and turning into a worm through the ashes. So basically like the cycle of reincarnation going on. And yeah, that was crazy. What else? I'm trying to show you photos. it was so funny to me when the Grays, when she was, because there were several sessions of her doing the regression, and it was so funny when the Gray started coming through, like her mouth, like they started speaking through her, so she started channeling. They were like so scared. They were like, what the hell is going on? Luckily for me, I wasn't shocked because I knew this was going to happen. This is technically what always happens with the regressions, especially if it's having to do with like any sort of ET contact. They usually do come through the subject when the regression is going, and I think they felt like comfortable enough and confident enough to come through her and not just have her relive everything through her memory. One of the things that was really cool was the fact that she remembers having a big needle inserted into her nose, and and when they pulled the needle out, it had like a little ball, so it's an implant. It was not there before they put the needle in. So, and this was from her very first abduction, so the researchers were like, oh shit, like she's been abducted before then if she already had something inside her nose. And it was an implant, and it's crazy because she remembers the Grace telling her, I hope your body doesn't reject it, because I think the way their technology works is it's supposed to be, what do they call it? Like biological, or like, there's a word for it, but I don't know what it is. But it's supposed to basically, not mold with your body, but like your body should accept it as something that's not foreign. I don't know how else to describe it, but there's like a term for it. But yeah, like your body's supposed to accept the implant or whatever. And then the implant, they told her that the implant was going to give her powers, and it was going to also awaken something in her. I don't know what that is. From everything I've learned in all the other books I've read, I'm thinking the only thing that it could awaken is her DNA and her psychic abilities, or her abilities to connect with them better. I don't know. But basically, if they put an implant on you, you're being tracked. They're watching every single thing you do. And even if you don't have an implant, they're probably still tracking you somehow. And so I really liked that the author, when this was going on, like the tracking devices and everything, and then like how subjects will always be put to sleep right after they remember seeing a Gray or a ship. He basically made it similar to the fact of how we, for example, like we have a helicopter and it's landing, and then we shoot someone that's in the helicopter shoots a like BB or like a tranquilizer to a bear, and then all the bear's gonna remember is like these advanced species, which are humans, putting them to sleep, and then all they remember was just like getting put to sleep, right? And then they wake up, and then they're hungry, and then they don't realize what's going on, but they don't realize that we're tracking them. So I like that little analogy. It's very cool. But what's cool is that the Greys definitely have superpowers, because, and I think this is one of the reasons why superpowers are even a thing in our reality, like in our like fiction books and fictional movies, because I think it's a real thing. I think we've all, or some or most of us have had these superpowers before, either in simultaneous lives right now or in like past or future lives, because when they shoved this like blade up her nose, she obviously was in pain, and she was complaining through the regression like how much it hurt. And then she asked for them to make the pain go away, and the Gray literally just put his hand on her forehead or her head, and the pain instantly went away. And this happens in so many abduction cases, where they I believe what they're doing there is just literally just putting the implant really far up your, I don't know where they put it. It's far up your nose. It might even be somewhere in your brain. I don't know what it is. I think it may be, I don't know. I don't know where it might be. I was gonna say the pineal gland, but fuck, like that would be so far up there. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm at a loss for words. I don't know where they put it. But if it's up your nose, it's gonna be somewhere in your head, right? And so it's crazy how many abduction cases have that same remembrance of them putting something like a blade or a needle up their nose, and it's obviously an implant. And so yeah, that's crazy. And then the book mentions like a ton of other things towards the end. Tons of short little like like paragraph long cases of like just like the craziest things. And then later on, because I don't want to say everything from the book, like you need to read it, but the book is so good. There's also a part where Becky, which is the daughter, she was in her room. This is towards the end of the book. She was in her room and she saw a glowing orange orb outside of her bedroom, and she was freaked the fuck out, and she screamed and just like ran to her mom, which is, her mom is the one that's been the one that was taken to the ship. She ran to her mom and screamed, and the next day, like by some weird unexplainable way, we obviously know that it is explainable, it's because of the orange orb, she just couldn't stop writing these weird symbols. And I'm thinking the symbols, they don't show the symbols, but I'm thinking the symbols are light language, or I'm thinking maybe the same symbols that could be in the crop circles. They never mention crop circles in this book, but from my understanding and from my predictions, I'm just thinking that it could be light language or any of the crop circle symbols, or maybe even it just came to my mind right now, which it might even be that sacred geometry symbols. I'm thinking that that's what it could be actually, but they never show sketches of it, so it could be anything, I don't know. But yes, later on when there's more abductions going on, she remembers, the daughter remembers seeing her mom and her dad being examined by the Greys on the table in the ship, and she's kind of like scared out of her mind. She's like, what the heck are they doing there? But yeah, so basically when the abductions happen, it's kind of, at least they say it in the book, that it's always like a family thing. It's never just one person that it happens to. It usually happens to everyone in the family, like they all get abducted. So a lot of the kids do not want to talk about the abduction or go public about it, but Becky and Betty were surely the ones that did talk about it in the public eye the most. And sometimes the husband did not want to talk about it at all. Sometimes he did go through regression, and then sometimes he just wanted to completely forget about that it even happened, which is understandable. I mean, I can't imagine how traumatic it must be. I've had my own experiences, but I believe, I haven't done a regression, but I believe my experiences were astrally, because then later on in the book, Betty and Becky started getting so many places on the ship, but when they would come back to, when they would be guided back to their bedroom, they would see their body sleeping. So there was a lot of out-of-body experience on the ships, and then coming back. So they were astral traveling a lot with the Greys. They also encountered a lot in the in this book. Betty, I think it was, I don't know who it was, Betty or Becky, but Betty or Becky. So Betty's the mom and Becky is the one of the daughters. Betty and Becky, whichever one it was, they got introduced to an elder, and they mentioned a lot of elders, and that they were pretty tall, and they have really long white hair, and they just have a very nice like energy about them. And I'm thinking the elders are like the ones that are in the councils, just from what I've learned throughout all my experience of learning of all this stuff. I think the elders are part of the councils, and it was really interesting that the Grays had told Betty or Becky, I don't remember who it was, but they had told them that the husband, because this was one of the times that the husband was getting abducted, they were like, you can come with us. They were telling Betty or Becky, whoever it was, they're like, you can come with us, but your husband's gonna have to go to another area in the ship because he's not as spiritually advanced as you are. So you can come with us, but he's gonna have to go to another section. So I don't remember where they took him, but they took Betty and Becky. Oh, I remember what it was. They were able to, Betty or Becky were able to, because they were spiritually advanced enough, they were able to be trained for telekinesis. They were levitating. I forgot what it was, but they were basically getting trained to telekinetically levitate objects. So that was really cool. And I'm trying to think of what else I can mention about the book. There is so much. There is so much. Yeah, just like so many cases of people remembering seeing craft disc-shaped, and lots of people seeing grays around a ship, like what's that term, like plain as day? Yeah, like literally, like consciously in the middle of the day or at night, they would literally see the gray beings. Tons and tons and tons of accounts of people saying that, and a lot of credible people as well came up to the forefront and started confessing a lot of these things. So like, believe it or not, like, it's real. Like, this is real, and just because it hasn't happened to you does not mean that it's not real, just like with anything else. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I felt like I had so much more things to say, but I don't know what else to say now. My next video is definitely going to be my 21 book, not 21 books I read. I've read so many books this year. I've read more than 21. It was just going to be all the books that I read in 2021. I don't know how, but I read more books this year than last year. And last year I was doing nothing but chilling at home. So that's weird. But yeah, I'm really excited to read book 2 of this. And they also do tons of lie detector tests and tons of other tests to prove that what they're doing is to prove that what they're experiencing is true and what they're telling us is true. And yes, they did not lie. Everything is true. So there you have it. Trying to find any other photos before I finish. I don't know what the phoenix has to do with her encounter, though. It's very interesting. I don't know why I'm drawn to the phoenix so much either, but there's gotta be a reason. I don't know if I showed you this one of how the grays looked when they first came in a line like that. I feel like the last thing I'm going to mention is the fact that they never were, Betty or Becky were never scared by the grays. They never felt fear from them. Yes, totally, 100%, there are malevolent grays out there. There's malevolent everything out there. There's malevolent humans. There's malevolent animals. Not everyone is bad and not everyone is good. I don't really like using those terms, but so you can understand what I mean. It's the same for everything out there. And so that goes to show that this was another case, just like in Dolores Cannon's work, where this was a more beneficial case, where it was not malevolent. Nothing bad was being done to them. If anything, it was all good. Like, a lot of this stuff, they told, the Grays would tell Betty or Becky that they would forget a lot of this stuff and then it would activate when they were ready for it in the future. So I thought that was really cool. There's a lot of because Betty is very religious, so she mentioned Jesus a lot to the Greys, and the Greys would always respond with like something that Jesus would say, like, love is the answer, like your planet is dying and like all these things, and we're here to help your planet, we're here to help you. And it's just like the craziest stuff. You know what, I'm going to read one thing that I do remember I wanted to tell you really badly. Okay, this is from a photo that I sent. Let's see. Okay. So this, I'm gonna finish with this. This is why they do abductions, okay? Or one of the reasons. We know one of them is to make the hybrid babies, which happens a lot. But this is another reason that I did not know. So this was definitely a revelation to me. So I'm just gonna read it from the book. Needles were placed in the soft spot of its head and in the ears. Betty was terribly upset with witnessing such a thing and asked why they were doing it. They're telling me that they're doing this because the human race will become sterile by the pollution and the bacteria and the terrible things that are on the earth. They're telling me that they have to extrapolate and put their protoplasma in the nucleus of the fetus and the paragenetic. I don't understand them. Something like paragenetic will utilize the tissue and nutrients to, I don't know, transfer the creature or something like that. They said they're watchers and they keep seed from man, and so the human will not be lost. Man is going to become sterile. They are the same substance as man. The fetuses become them. Yeah. So there is so much more that I can't explain in this book, but I don't want to because like it takes the fun out of the book. But go read this book. It is so good. It is so worth it.